I've been working on Travis's case ever since it happened. Okay, and I know exactly when it happened.
No one had seen or heard from 30-year-old Travis Victor Alexander for several days. In most circumstances, this would be a cause for concern, but Alexander was a uniquely busy individual. Employed by prepaid legal services, his job required him to travel around to different states, giving speeches wherever he was called to do so. Around the same time, Alexander had a girlfriend who lived out of state. The two of them had maintained a long-distance relationship by taking turns meeting up at her home in California and his in Arizona. This lifestyle meant it wasn't usual for Alexander to suddenly disappear. On the night of June 4th, Alexander missed an important conference call from its company. Then on June 6th, Alexander's girlfriend, Jody Ann Aris, called her boyfriend's cell phone, and despite leaving several voicemail messages for him, he never picked up the phone or responded back. Friends started to get concerned for Alexander and decided to go to his home to check up on him. To the friends' horror, there was a pool of blood coming from the master bedroom.
I know a lot of details, and just recently we found quite a bit of evidence, and I'll discuss that with you. The main thing that I'm looking for, though, is answers on why certain things happened, why they went so far. A lot of details on this case that haven't been released to the public, and not even to Travis's family. And those details are known only by us and the person who did it. Okay, and that's one of the reasons I'm here, is because I believe that you know some of these details.
While calling the 911 operative, Alexander's friends gave the name of a suspect.
Oh my God.
911 emergency.
Hi, this is AJ with the transfer. She's calling from 11428 East Queensboro. Ma'am, is that correct?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay, that's 11428 East Queensboro Avenue in Mesa.
Yes.
Okay, what's going on?
What?
What's going on?
A friend of ours is dead in his bedroom. We hadn't heard from him for a while. We think he's dead. His roommate just went in there and said there's lots of blood. I didn't go in, but I can give you the phone to someone who went in there.
Yes, please, can you?
Hello.
Hi, so what's going on?
He's dead. He's in his bedroom.
Okay.
In the shower.
Okay, how did this happen? Do you have any idea?
No, we have no idea. Everyone's been wondering about him for a few days.
She said that there was blood. So is it coming from his head? Did he cut his wrist?
It's all over the place.
Okay, you're a good friend of Travis's, correct?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Has he been depressed at all? Thinking about committing suicide? Anything like that?
I don't think he's been thinking he committed suicide. He's been really depressed because he broke up with this girl, and he was all upset about that. But I don't think he would actually kill himself over that.
Has he been threatened by anyone recently?
Yes, he has. Okay. He has an ex-girlfriend that's been bothering him and following him and slashing tires and things like that.
And do you know the ex-girlfriend's name?
Do you remember it? Yeah. What's his ex-girlfriend's name? Ask Taylor.
And do you know if he's ever reported it to the police?
Her name is Jody. I don't know if he's ever reported. Hold on. Yeah. Ask Taylor if he's ever reported Jody to the police, like if Travis did. No, he hasn't reported anything about Jody's behavior.
The person who would soon become the primary focus of this entire case was none other than Alexander's girlfriend, Jody Ann Aris.
And you're considered under arrest or detained. You're not free to go.
In a homicide case, investigators find that 9 times out of 10 the killer is someone close to the victim. A lover, a parent, or a friend.
And what I'm going to do is just ask you some questions, ask you what you've been doing, certain dates, what you were up to.
Yeah.
You mentioned you were traveling on some of these dates.
I travel.
I want to kind of clarify some of these things. What have you been up to since Travis's death? What have you been doing?
I know that a lot of people have been posting on Facebook really nice things. At one point, I was like, well, maybe I should do that. So I posted this thing, and I just said all my memories, and I realized looking back on it that it kind of sounded immature. It's more like my Dear Travis kind of letter. And so I took it down because...
More personal?
Yeah, some of it was detailed, a little more personal. Not too personal, nothing inappropriate. So I posted pictures and I took that down, and I posted something last week. But other than that, I've been on Facebook and MySpace a lot, looking at his profile, looking at his pictures, reading things about his obituaries and any news updates. And, there's legacy.com where you can write something about him.
Yeah.
I didn't realize until I actually spoke with Ryan Burns, and it was through him that I learned that he said, if you come out to Utah, things are really weird because everyone thinks that you could have had a hand.
And I've talked to a lot of people, and everybody's pointing a finger at you.
I know.
Everybody is saying, I don't understand what happened to Travis. I don't know who killed him. But you need to look at Jody. And sometimes the simplest answers are the correct ones. And that's one of the reasons I started looking at you a little bit closer. And over the last month or so, I've gotten into Travis's life, talked to all his friends, his family. I got a really good understanding of who he is now. And I got a very good understanding of your relationship with him.
Alexander met Eris in Las Vegas, Nevada, during one of his speeches for prepaid legal services. The two enjoyed each other's company and started to form a romantic relationship.
One of the reasons I'm here is to talk to you to figure out what was going on between you two. I know the relationship that you guys had was of convenience sometimes. Obviously, you weren't boyfriend and girlfriend anymore, but you were still having a sexual relationship, which,
Does his family know about that? Just curious.
No, his family doesn't know anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm interested in protecting how he's remembered as well, and
Well, I'm sure if Travis could speak right now, he wouldn't care what people thought about him, because they knew who he was. Okay, a sexual relationship here or there, because the fact he was a member of the church really doesn't matter.
To help make things work between them, Eris converted to Mormonism to share the same beliefs as Alexander.
The reason I care about that is because he was adamant about that. And a couple times we prayed about it, didn't work, or we didn't stick to our guns on it. And one time a girlfriend of mine just said, why don't you just go to your bishop and talk, and ask Travis the same. And I talked to him about it, and he got really angry. He said, I've already had problems with this in the past. I'm embarrassed by it. I don't want to go to my bishop.
Well, the way Travis thought, by getting into his head and everything that he's written in his journals and everything I found out about him, he truly had feelings for you.
Yet, not far below the surface, there seemed to be signs of unseen trouble.
And for some reason, he felt that the relationship between you and him was somewhat unhealthy, but he couldn't stop it. And I assume that's probably maybe the same way you felt about him, or?
No, I didn't think it was healthy either, spiritually at least, and probably emotionally. Too much of my nightlife was about him. He would text me and, hey, I'm getting sleepy, ... Just a bunch of Z's, and that was his code to come on over kind of thing. The coast is clear, So, and that was just, I lived 5 minutes away, 10, maybe 10, depending, and it was just too convenient and too easy, and it was fun, and we had fun when we were together, and so it wasn't healthy, and I totally agree with that.
Alexander had been casually dating another female friend, Mimi Hall, while still in a relationship with Eris. There was a trip that the couple planned to take to Cancun, Mexico, but a few months prior to the travel date, Alexander and Eris broke up, and Alexander planned to bring Mimi Hall with him instead.
And this is all after you broke up.
Oh, yeah.
Broke up with Travis, everything was all over.
As far as the timeline, we broke, it was kind of a mutual thing, but I sort of more broke up with him.
Yeah.
It was hard to do because I really loved him. But I just realized that without trust, you can't have anything, and I had violated his trust.
Is that the main reason you guys broke up? Is the trust?
Trust. That was the big reason.
He was a big time flirt, and that's the one thing everybody says about him. He flirts a lot. He did have girlfriends here or there, and he was at a point in his life where he wanted to really start settling down. He felt like he needed to kind of grow up, become a husband, become a father. That time had come, and he felt that time had come and gone, and he was falling behind. Did you guys ever discuss possibly getting married or anything?
When we were dating, we did.
Okay.
Once we broke up, he brought it up. He actually proposed to me a lot of times, but he wasn't serious.
Let's move to after the breakup. What kept you in Mesa at that point?
I actually moved to Mesa a few weeks after we broke up, and he's really persuasive.
He persuaded you to stay there in Mesa?
He kind of was playing up all the advantages if I did come to Mesa. And if I did, he said, it's a great place. We could still see each other and hang out on occasion. So I moved out there, and when Travis found out it was so close to him, he freaked out about it. And I made sure to check that it wasn't, that we wouldn't be in the same ward. And it was within his ward boundaries, but it was also within another singles ward boundary. So of course I'm gonna go the other one, because it would just be kind of weird. I mean, I didn't know about him and Lisa at first. So I don't know if they were even dating at that time. I don't know what their whole timeline was.
During that time that he was seeing Lisa, did you continue to see him as well?
Yeah, and I didn't know that he was seeing her.
That's a good statement, because that kind of sums up the relationship that you had with him. It seems like he liked you, he loved you. He wanted to be with you, but he was reluctant to make a commitment first off. And truly, he didn't think that you were marriage material. So, moving over to his trip to Cancun that he was going to, when did you first find out about that he was going with Mimi?
I found out about that at his memorial services on Monday. It was the Monday night memorial service.
So you didn't know that he was going to Cancun?
I knew he was going, yeah.
Okay. You didn't know he was taking Mimi?
I didn't know that. I think that's awesome, actually.
Yeah, I think there's some other things that you're not telling me. I think maybe the jealousy probably continued even after the fact that you moved away. For instance, was it the week of the first week of June? You took a trip to Salt Lake City.
She was driving a rental car from Arizona to California, insisting that she wasn't at her boyfriend Alexander's house during the scene of the crime.
Remember that trip we talked about?
Oh, this year?
Yes.
I'm thinking back. Yeah.
You had left, I think it was like a Monday.
I left Monday, June 2nd.
Monday, June 2nd, in morning or afternoon or something. I can't remember what, late morning.
I think it was morning.
Okay, and you'd gone down to Redding and rented a car. Where did you rent that car?
The Redding Airport.
Okay, do you remember what car company it was?
I don't remember the rental company, but I remember the make and model. It was a Ford Focus. No, cruise control.
And so you took a trip and you decided to go to, instead of going over to Utah, you went straight out to Los Angeles area?
I went to Santa Cruz first.
Santa Cruz? Okay.
And then I stayed the night in Monterey. And the next day I drove to Pasadena.
So you took this trip and you left on, was it Monday the 2nd? Right? And you didn't get to Utah until Thursday, you told me.
Yeah, I got to Utah on Thursday.
So Thursday, and that's the 5th, there's 48 hours. So this trip took you a little over 48 hours. So I've gone over this trip over and over in my mind and on paper. And even if there's still 20 some odd hours, even if you pulled over to sleep a couple of times.
Oh, did I tell you that I got stranded?
Yeah.
Okay.
You mentioned that. If you slept for 10 hours
I only slept for about
here
8
and
hours.
here, it would still leave 18 some odd hours. This is what people are focusing on, is this trip that you took. Because they're saying she left, she didn't get to till Thursday. Wednesday, that's when Travis was killed.
I did not go near his house. Aren't there?
I pulled your cell records. Your cell phone was turned off between here and here. Okay? But the last place it pulled it was here. The next place it turned on was here. Is there plenty of time for you to do that? Yes. And do I believe that you had come to visit Travis? Yes. Did you have the opportunity? Yes. You were traveling alone. There's no other witnesses. Your phone just happened to turn off from here to here.
Well, I didn't turn it off physically, but it died.
And then it magically you found your charger here. But I don't think you're being completely honest with me. Were you at Travis's house on Wednesday?
Absolutely not. I was nowhere near Mesa.
What if I could show you proof you were there?
Among the evidence were the used shells of .25 caliber bullets, a broken digital camera in the washing machine, and a bloody handprint along the bathroom hallway.
Will that change your mind?
I wasn't there.
Be honest with me, Jody.
I was not at Travis's house. Was not.
You were at Travis's house. You guys had a sexual encounter, which there's pictures. And I know you know there's pictures, because I have them.
Although a murder weapon was never recovered, Eris's grandparents had reported a break-in where several items were stolen, including a .25 caliber handgun. DNA tests showed the bloody handprints on the walls contained both Alexander's and Eris's blood. And as for the broken camera, police could still retrieve several photos from it, including pictures both right before Alexander's murder and after, when Eris was dragging his bloody body across the floor.
Are you sure it's me? I mean, because I was
Jody,
not there.
It's you.
I never
Why,
hurt
Jody?
Travis.
You did. You hurt him. That's why we're here. I want to know why. Why did you do this to him?
I wouldn't hurt Travis. He's done so much for me.
There's so much evidence in that house. So much, and it all points to you.
I lived there. I was there for months and months and months.
I know you took pictures of him in the shower just before he died.
I don't think he would allow that.
And the camera actually took a couple of photos by accident during the time that he was being killed.
Really?
We can keep playing these games over and over again. I'm not going to believe you. Your blood is in the house, mixed with his. Mixed. Not alongside, but mixed. Your hair is there with blood. And your palm print is there in blood.
Listen,
It's over.
could it have been my blood from before?
Your image is not important right now. Saving the rest of your life is.
Listen, if I'm found guilty, I don't have a life. I'm not guilty. I didn't hurt Travis. If I hurt Travis, if I killed Travis, I would beg for the death penalty.
If you were in my shoes and I had this evidence against you, what would you say?
If I had that evidence against you, it'd be pretty obvious. But I guess being in my position, it just seems so impossible. I'd want to see it. I'd want to know. I mean, I'm not a murderer, but I guess if I were to do that, I would wear gloves or, something. How could I don't know.
The investigation had gone on for 2 years with nothing out of the ordinary happening. The trial would soon start, and it seemed to be a typical homicide case that would be closed and finished without much hassle. That was when Arias made a phone call that would change this case and grab the attention of people around the world. Jody said that over the time her and Alexander had been dating and seeing each other, she had been both physically and emotionally abused by her boyfriend. Killing him was a means of self-defense, because she felt threatened by him. Arias' defense lawyer brought evidence from the emails and photographs that showed Travis Alexander had been interested in, as he put it, sexual deviance, such as cleaning his house in a provocative maid outfit, and had described compromising sexual experiences he wanted to have with her, including tying Arias to a tree with zip ties.
Even though they didn't see each other from April of 2008 until June of 2008, Travis was still able to use Jody for his own sexual desires. You'll actually hear a recorded phone call. Recorded call between Travis and Jody. That's very explicit.
I love it when you grab my butt because it feels nice. But you only do it like when you're trying to prove a point to somebody else.
You cannot say I don't want that booty.
I'm a giver, but I don't mind receiving while you're doing the giving.
And I like how you play whatever role you need to play.
I like the play. That's fun.
If you need to, handle me, I'll handle me. If you need to be handled, you'll be handled.
Oh.
I'm going to tie you to a tree and put it in your ass, by the way.
What's that?
I'm going to tie you to a tree and put it in your ass, by the way.
Oh my gosh. You are full of ideas.
Like the actual putting it in you and like your reaction and just the angles and the whole bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you are right though, that in the bath. Oh, that was hot.
Oh, when we took a bath together?
Uh-huh.
That was surreal. Like, honestly, and I think, maybe the candlelight and the bubbles all had something to do with it, but you are amazing.
You're touching yourself.
I am already. I wish those were my hands giving you a hand job. If you were here, my grandparents are asleep, I'd let you right into my bedroom. We'd shut and lock the door, and we would just have a big bath. You'd go at it all night. I want you to come. You make me so horny. I seriously think about having sex with you every day. Several times a day, Dan. I think about how it feels to have your deep inside of me. I remember it, and I want it again. I'm gonna come soon, honey.
So,
right now.
What else is hot? Naturally, so like the way you know, it sounds like you're this 12-year-old girl having her first orgasm. It's so hot.
It sounds like what?
A 12-year-old girl having her first orgasm. Like Corky this hot little girl.
You're bad. You make me feel so dirty.
Arias said Alexander was manipulative to get her to comply, and would become aggressive when she refused. It got to the point where she didn't feel like she could say no to him, otherwise he would have hurt her. On the night Alexander was killed, Arias said she had dropped Alexander's brand new camera. Alexander went into a frenzy and tried to attack her. Arias said she then blacked out, and then next thing she knew, she found herself driving her car in a panic, not entirely sure what had happened.
Serious, please stand to be sworn.
Raise your right hand. You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
We were at the point in time on June 4th, late afternoon, early evening hours when you were about ready to depart. You were telling us before you departed, you were going to, or you and Mr. Alexander had decided to engage in this photo shoot, you called it, right?
Yes.
And this was to take place in his bathroom, right?
Yes.
When you were in the bathroom, did you have a gun with you?
No.
Were you holding on to a knife?
No.
Tell us what happens once he gets in the shower.
We were trying out different poses, and then we were checking the photos and deleting them, and then taking a few more, and
checking them and going through them and deleting them. And at one point, he was sitting, and I was taking pictures. I was probably a few feet from the shower so that the water didn't get on the camera. And I was showing him the photos, and we were deleting some. And at one point, when I went to delete the photos, as I moved the camera, it slipped out of my hand. And it didn't like fall right away. I kind of caught it, and then I caught it like a football, like it bounced, and I almost caught it. But it didn't catch it, and it landed on the mat, and then it rolled onto the tile. At that point, Travis flipped out again, and he stood up, and he stepped out of the shower, and he picked me up. I was crouching, but he lifted me up as he was screaming that I was a stupid idiot. And he body slammed me again on the tile. He told me that 5-year-old can hold a camera better than I can. As he was screaming at me, there was spit coming out, or maybe it was water, but I was getting wet, and when I hit the tile, I rolled over on the side and started running down the hallway. I don't know why I didn't run out of the room. I ran into the closet because the door was open, was my thought. The last time I ran down the hallway, he caught me before I got to the door.
When he slams you down onto the ground after you drop the camera, how do you feel?
I was scared. I was thinking crap, because it's everything that I was trying to avoid downstairs. When he started getting mad, I was doing everything I could to avoid that, and I still didn't avoid it. I still screwed it up, and now he's pissed again. So he's freaking out, I'm freaking out. I rolled, like I said, I rolled off to my left and began to run down the hallway, and I could hear him follow. I could hear his footsteps chasing me. So I ran into the closet and I slammed the door, and I intended to run through the opposite end of the door because it has another exit. And as soon as I got in there and began to run, I remembered where he kept a gun, so I grabbed it. I jumped up on the shelf, kept it on the very top. I grabbed it, and then I ran out the other door as he was opening the door, and he ran, chasing me, and I turned around and pointed it at him so that he would stop chasing me.
So you told us that you grabbed the gun and got out through the closet, correct?
Yes. When I grabbed the gun, I ran out of the closet. He was chasing me. I turned around, and we were in the middle of the bathroom. I pointed it at him with both of my hands. I thought that would stop him. If someone were pointing a gun at me, I would stop. But he just kept running. He got like a linebacker. He got kind of low and grabbed my waist. But before he did that, as he was lunging at me, the gun went off. I didn't mean to shoot him or anything. I didn't even think I was holding the trigger. I just was pointing it at him. And I didn't even know that I shot him. It just went off, and he lunged at me, and we fell really hard against the tile toward the other wall, like kind of near the scales or whatever those things are. So at this point, I didn't even know that if he had been shot. I didn't see anything different. We were struggling and wrestling, and he's a wrestler. He had wrestled in high school, and he was getting on top of me. And I didn't want him to get on top of me, because when he had done that in the past, I can't get out of those holds that he gets. So he's grabbing at my clothes, and I got up, and he's just screaming angry. And after I broke away from him, he said, "Fucking kill you, bitch."
Well, let me ask you this, getting us back to that moment in time, not the poses, anything else. You've told us that he said, "Kill you, bitch," and you were underneath him trying to get away.
He said that right after I broke away from him.
Okay, right after you broke away from him. Once you broke away from him, what do you remember?
Almost nothing for a long time. There are some things that have come back over years, but nothing. I don't know if those are things that I'm thinking of from before, or if it's that day, it's confusing. There is like a huge gap. Like, I don't know if I blacked out or what. There's a huge gap. And the most clear memory that I have after that point is driving in the desert. But there are certain little things that have come back, like pictures in my mind that have come back since then.
There was a general consensus that Arias suffered from PTSD or anxiety of some form, but that there was nothing to explain her memory loss. At the end of the trial, after 15 hours of discussion, the jury found Jodi Arias guilty of first-degree murder.
State of Arizona versus Jodi Ann Arias, verdict, count 1. We, the jury, duly impaneled and sworn, in the above entitled action, upon our oaths, do find the defendant as to count 1, first-degree murder, guilty.
The next step would be for the jury to decide on the appropriate punishment for such a horrific crime. With Jodi's final plea, the 12 jurors left to begin their deliberations and vote on whether to let Arias live or die. But they couldn't come to a definite decision. In the end, the jurors voted 8-4 in favor of the death penalty. But without an anonymous vote, the execution couldn't be carried out. At the end of the second day, the judge declared it to be a hung jury, and that they would not reach a conclusive answer. The judge then declared the sentencing as a mistrial and said they would make another attempt at a later date. Just under 2 years passed, and the retrial for the sentencing of Jodi Arias began.
Please be seated. The record will show the presence of the jury, the defendant, and all counsel. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I have received 2 juror questions from you. The first juror question, submitted late yesterday afternoon, states that we are not unanimous. Votes have been steady since last Thursday. Jurors have indicated minds are made up. Some have indicated we either let you know today or they want off this jury. In my assessment, we are hung and additional time will not change this. Submitted by the foreperson.
And once again, the jury was inconclusive. This was enough for the judge to sentence Jodi Arias to life imprisonment with no chance of parole.